understanding this skill is critical for any professional gambler.
Now I feel better about making those bets on the fly.
There's a right answer and a wrong answer. If you don't get the right answer, you're leaving money on the table.
There should be no baseball betting Hall of Fame without Barry Lamar Bonds. There should be no sports betting or sports gambling Hall of Fame, whatever you want to call it, without this gentleman. It's Elihu Feustel, everybody, on a numbers game, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. How about that? Well, first, before we even get into the scenarios, the reason this came up is because I am not a guy who buys points, but during a show that we do here on Monday, Guessing Lines, I am looking for value first reactions to the upcoming week's NFL lines. And in doing so, I'm making bets while we're doing the show. And sort of haphazardly, I was like, Atlanta, 3.5, I'll buy it down to 3, right? I was doing things quickly. We're buying this 3 to the +3 to +3.5. We'll get into that, but you wanted to contextualize it with push charts.
Yeah. So there's two questions you have to address. One is, should I buy a half point? And a similar question you'll see more often is, which of these two prices is better? I can take +3.5, 130, or +3, 110. And there's a right answer and a wrong answer. If you have the right answer, you're going to add 1% to your hold. If you don't get the right answer, you're leaving money on the table. So understanding this skill is critical for any professional gambler. And that takes us back to push charts. If you're going to figure out which is the better play, you have to do what's called a push rate conversion. You have to look at the probability of win, draw, loss for each outcome and say what is the fair price after buying the point. But before we go into push rates, I want to take a look. I hate to tell you this, but the push charts I gave you in Conquering Risk 15 years ago, are now obsolete.
Yeah.
They're not completely worthless, but they need to be redone based on the new rule changes and the more competitive landscape. So if you look back, people probably thought the push rate of the 3 was about 9%. And the consensus is that the push rate of the 3 has gone down with the new extra point rules. And what I found is actually just the opposite, that the push rate of the 3 has gone up. And so a lot of the push rates in competitive games have gone up. And, it's counterintuitive because when you have the 2-point conversions and you have the missed extra points from all this, you'd expect it to be all scattered. But what people forget is that the game has become much more competitive. So if you look at the average margin of victory in the last 11 years, it's 11.1 points. Before 94, it was 11.8. So in 94 to 2014 was 11.7. So it's only 5% closer, but that makes a big difference. If you're pushing 5% more frequently, it adds up.
That's fascinating. So because you're right, most people believe, two-point conversions now involved in football. Therefore, the rate at which games result in a push, that's what we mean by push rates. The rate at which games result in a push has to go down, but you're saying it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, and especially in the 1 to actually all the push rates for the 1 to 6 have all gone up, at least with the data I have. So if you look at the probability of a push for those 6 indices, it used to be 20%, just adding them up, and now it's 27%. So in those competitive games, you have a ton more pushes. And if you're using an old push rate, you're probably making bad choices on when to buy and when to sell, or shopping. And the general rule in the past was buying or selling is going to be a sucker bet because it's priced correctly. And that's not necessarily true now. And you gave me 2 cases that you wanted to look at.
Yeah, this is from Monday's show. Yeah, I believe it involves the Falcons and the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
So the 2, you gave me one play where a person could bet at -3, 110, or they could buy it down to -3.5, 110, or they could buy it down to 3. And if you use a push rate of 9.7%, the fair price going from -3.5 to -3 is -138, which is probably higher than most books are charging.
I got -135, yeah.
Then that was a good buy. You stole 3 pennies from the book.
There you go.
And you just added,
boom,
1% to your return. That was a good buy. Now, the other thing is if you go, generally buying from a push to a win is worth less than buying from a win to a push because you're saving the juice when you save a tie. You're just adding to the win. So if you do the same case, you go from +3 to +3.5, the fair price on +3.5 with a push rate of 9.7 is only +133. So if you paid 25 cents to buy there, that would have been a bad buy, in my opinion.
I paid 22 cents, I believe, on that
So
one.
that was marginally good.
Marginally good. Still pennies. Pennies here and there.
Yeah, but it adds up.
It adds up.
Pennies make a person rich.
And back to the push rates, because again, this is I answered somebody on Twitter, and I think this, I don't know if this is what caught your attention, but you jumped in, and I'm so glad you did, which is, it really does come down to the math of the push rates. Obviously, this hasn't been static in the NFL. You divided this into 3 eras?
Yes. So the first era I looked at was before 1994. Before that time period, you didn't have a 2-point conversion. I arbitrarily did these just based on 3 rule sets. The second era, 94 to 2014, was you have 2-point conversions, but you have the old extra point rule where it was easy to make extra points. And in 2015, when they moved the extra point line back, the extra point rate dropped from about 99% to about, between 95 and 96%. And because of that, you had a lot, we thought there'd be fewer games landing on the 3 and the 7. But you get in these 2-point dances, and you have teams, the field goal kickers are much better. Even the extra point rate has gone up since then. And the net result is that all these push rates, the 7 is about the same, but the 10 has gone down, but just about every other push rate's gone up.
Elihu, I so appreciate it, man. This makes, first of all, you explain it so well. Again, before 94, no 2-point conversions. 94 to 2014, 2-point conversions, but shorter extra points. Since 2014, 2-point conversions and longer extra points. And it makes sense, and now I feel better about making those bets on the fly. But again, it's always price sensitive. That's the thing that everybody should remember. The latest book from Elihu, again, he was kind enough to join us a couple years ago at the D when this first came out, Beyond the Odds, Efficient Market Theory and Tools of Warfare for the Modern Sports Bettor, Elihu D. Feustel. Real quick, in the last minute before you go here, Elihu, if I may, and you can answer this to the extent that you'd like to, you're always looking for edges. I mean, it's a moving target in sports betting. I even said earlier, I was like, I'm surprised sports betting has contained your brain. I'm surprised you're not doing other things. What are you betting on these days?
I'm always betting correlated parlays, but the new thing with these push charts you should think about are teasers. What are the fair teaser odds?
Oh,
I'll just let people do their own work on that.
That's exactly what you should be thinking about with the new charts. Teasers will have, and we have is our teaser segment later today, as a matter of fact?
No, we're going to do it tomorrow.
We're going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's a moving target, too.
That's right.
But that's food for thought from Elihu. That's what we ought to be thinking about on teasers as well. Elihu, I can't thank you enough. At D_Feustel, Feustel. Elihu Feustel on a numbers game. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.